Hi everyone, it's Roo at the King's Roost. It's crepe day at our house and we're going to do Dutch crepes the way my mom taught me, modified for using whole grains. So what you're going to need is vanilla, oil of any kind, doesn't really matter that much, salt, sugar, some milk, and 1 egg per person. Of course the key ingredient is going to be wheat, flour, and we're going to go make some. Here we are at the granary. We're going to use soft white wheat berries for our crepes. I'm going to take about 3/4 of a cup, just about half of one of these scoops. There we go, I think that's about enough. And we're going to go over to the mill. This is actually a combination mill. On the right side it's an oat roller, and on the left side it's a grain mill. So I'm going to turn it on. It's on a fine setting, and here we go. It is so easy to mill flour, and it's actually pretty quick. It takes less time for me to make a couple of cups of flour than it does to make my coffee. And in just a few seconds, we've got the flour that we need for our crepes. Okay, so before we mix up the batter, I do want to mention one thing. One of the reasons that I don't give exact measurements is because you're dealing with a living organism here. This wheat flour came from wheat berries that were alive and could actually sprout wheatgrass. In fact, I've got some wheatgrass right here in the aquaponics system. This came from the very same berries. So it's not as predictable as the very standard product that you get in the store, but for me, that's part of the fun. Okay, let's make some crepe batter. Okay. 3 eggs, beat them up, pour in a little bit of vanilla, pinch of salt, some milk, some oil, a little more oil, why not? And some sugar. I'm going to put in, that's about a tablespoon. Mix that all up. Throw in the flour. And the consistency is going to be very thin because crepes are very thin. If it's too thick, you can just add a little water, you can add a little milk. And if it's too thick, if it's too thin, you just go run over to your handy dandy mill and mill up a little bit more flour. Okay, while I'm mixing this up, I want to make a couple of points. Most traditional crepe recipes will have you make the batter the night before. I don't have time for that. The purpose of that is to give the ingredients time to mix. What I would rather do is warm up my milk, my other liquid ingredient. I put it in the microwave for a few minutes, and let it get the temperature of the batter up to room temperature. Leave it for 5 or 10 minutes. It does basically the same thing. The other point that I would make is that in traditional pancake and waffle recipes, they say don't mix the batter too much, leave it lumpy. It's okay. You want to mix it up really, really, really well. One other thing that I want to say is this is a good time to warm up your pan. So we'll get the pan warmed up and the oven preheated on a very low setting so that you can keep your crepes warm while you're making them. Okay. Okay, so we're ready to make some crepes. One exception to the measurement rule is I use a 3-ounce ladle. It works perfectly for this pan. And the pan's all warmed up. So let's go ahead and put the first crepe in and see how it goes. Oops, it looks like in a few minutes it's gotten a little too thick. I'm going to thin it just a tiny bit. Put a little water in there. The oven's preheated, which is perfect. Everything's going well. Okay, here we go. Pour 1 3-ounce ladle in. Pour it in, tilt it, don't rush it, just tilt it around. And there we have nice, evenly coated pan. It didn't sizzle as much as I'd like, so I'm turning the heat up just a little bit. You want to keep it on medium to maybe a little bit more than medium. And after a couple of minutes, don't touch it, but after a couple of minutes, the sides will start to peel away a little bit, and you'll be able to pull it out and flip it nice and easily. So it's a couple of minutes later. I think this crepe is about ready to flip. One thing I would mention is that you can get 2 or even 3 pans going at the same time if you want to get this process done a little faster, but we'll just grab that, flip it over. There you go. Isn't that beautiful? That is awesome. Don't worry if the first one isn't perfect. I got lucky this time. The first one turned out just right, but if you need to thicken the batter, make it a little thinner, adjust the temperature of the pan, don't worry about it. You have a whole bunch of crepes to do it. Okay, I'm going to take a look, see if this one's done. Look at that. It's ready to go. We're going to put it on a warmed plate, keep it in a very, very low oven to keep it warm, and we're off to a great start.
happens next?
Make crepes.
Show us how.
Okay. You get all your butter.
Butter first. This is the.
All your toppings.
What are your toppings? This is the classic style,
My
right?
toppings are brown sugar and lemon.
Right. You can start with a little butter if you want. This is the classic Dutch style, Oma style.
Put lemon juice on the brown sugar.
Yeah.
It kind of melts it.
Yeah. And it's so good.
Is it so good?
Uh-huh.
It's all finished. You fold it in half.
Yes. Then you do
Maybe
this.
if you don't want to spill it out, you can fold it in.
Yeah. That's
And
what
then
you should
roll
do.
it up.
In particular.
And then you have crepes.
Yes, and then you eat it. Of course.
How's it taste?
Good. So good.
Oh my gosh.
Happy crepe eating.